Okay, review for Alto Nights with Robert De Niro, Deborah Messing, Catherine Narducci, and a bunch of American Italian actors. Um, it's directed by Barry Levinson, who's pretty legit director. He did Rain Man, Bandits. Even though I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but a lot of people like that movie a lot. Sleepers, that's a good movie. Diner, I've heard that's really good. I think I'm gonna try and check that out. Young Sherlock Holmes, Bugsy. So he's a pretty legit director, and it's written by Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman. So you got a lot of talented people involved. So for this movie, now I did enjoy it. I don't think it's anything amazing. It's a little slow, I think. It's too long. It's like about 2 hours long. I think you could easily cut 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of this movie. But I did enjoy it. It's an interesting story, which I'm not sure if it says it's true, so I haven't really looked into that, but it was a bomb, a huge bomb. Budget 45 to 50 million, box office about 10 million. So huge bomb. I think a problem too with this movie is Robert De Niro's playing two different characters, and I mean, I just think, like, couldn't you have got another guy? I've heard rumors. I don't know if it's true that Joe Pesci was offered Vito GMVC, because you can even kind of tell he's kind of the wild card. He's kind of crazy. He really is. He's just kind of crazy. He's paranoid about like everyone. He's just, man, especially when he orders one thing to be done in this, and he's just crazy. And Frank is he's like kind of the politician, or I don't know, he's friends with politician. He also backs people to become judges and stuff like that. And he's kind of turned legitimate. You know, they both started off as kids doing the same kind of thing. They were running alcohol into the country during Prohibition, or running molasses. And but the movie, all right. I did enjoy it. It's an interesting story about basically how the mob was taken down by one of their own. Spoilers. Now this is spoilers, so I did enjoy the movie, but I'm gonna get into spoilers. I'm not gonna go through the whole plot because a bunch of things happen in this movie. It spans. Well, it's mainly what they do is they do flashbacks and stuff, like him getting married to Bobby Costello and stuff like that. Both of the women in this are really good. Deborah Messing is Frank Costello's wife. Catherine Narducci is, for a time, Vito's wife. It's pretty funny what happens between them, because it's like Vito has all this money and she runs like a bar, and but then he starts stealing from her even though he has money, and then he's like, oh, I don't have much money, but she's, and then she's in court saying he has millions of dollars stashed away, which he does. And basically what happens is Vito goes away to Italy and before the war, World War II, and he gets stuck there the entire war, maybe even a little bit longer. And then he comes back, and he put Frank Costello in charge. And he's kind of pissed because Frank Costello won't give him the money that he thinks he is due. which honestly, it sounds like it is due to him, but he won't do it. So this puts a grudge between them two. Other things happen. But Vito's technically the boss of Frank, but Frank won't give him the money, so he's got this grudge. And this guy, Albert Anastasia, played by Michael Rispoli, is under Frank Costello, and then he's going to go to Cuba because there's a grand jury that's being assembled and he'll be called to testify. So he's about to go to Cuba. Vito hears about this. He thinks Frank Costello's up to something, and then he orders him to be killed. A pretty brutal scene in a barbershop right before he's about to get on a plane and go to Cuba. This is like 1957, so it's before the communists take over, but this really upsets and angers Frank, rightfully so, because he wasn't up to anything. And before this, Vito put out a hit on Frank, and he almost killed him. It grazed his head, almost died. And Frank, kind of is like, you know what? I'm just going to forget about this. He won't tell the cops who the guy is. They catch the guy gives himself up because Frank says, if he gives himself up, I'll testify and say, I don't remember what he looks like. Is that him? No, I don't think so. So they do that, and he doesn't go to jail. So Frank's even willing to overlook that. But Vito won't let it go. He won't let any of this go. And and then this guy Albert's gonna go to Cuba and he kills him. And he has a family, and I mean he's a mobster like them all. And then this angers Frank, and then in the end he betrays all the mobsters because he has them all go to one location to have a sit down and a meeting with Vito and all the heads of the families. And then the cops are tipped off. They see a bunch of mobsters in their cars going there. They think that they're smuggling alcohol because they got a tip off. They don't show who gives the tip off, but you assume it's Frank. Frank's late to the party, and a bunch of them they get it makes national news. This forces the FBI to say that the mob exists, that it's a nationwide conspiracy, because before they wouldn't say that. In fact, J. Edgar Hoover said the mob did not exist. There is no mafia, which is pretty crazy earlier. And then, this causes them all to kind of go down. So it is an interesting story. I think De Niro did an okay job. I just think he shouldn't have played both roles. Like, he can play... I think I heard in an interview, he was offered Frank Costello, and then for some reason he ended up playing both. Now, I think what would have been interesting is if Al Pacino played the other role. Because, I'm pretty sure they offered it to Joe Pesci. He's retired. He did The Irishman as a favor to Martin Scorsese. And, I don't know, maybe like Pacino or another kind of older, actor, Italian-American actor. I just think it would have made it better, because also, like, the first 30 minutes, it's a little confusing. It's like, wait, is that Frank or is that Vito? Because it's the same guy. And Vito, I think, is the one wearing more prosthetics, but it's the same actor, and I kind of found it a little confusing the first, 30 minutes about who's who. But after about that, then you kind of get it, because then they're kind of attached, because then Frank is really attached to his wife. She's in a lot of scenes that he's in. so it makes it easier. So after about 30 minutes, it wasn't really confusing, but I found it a little confusing the first 20-30 minutes. And yeah, the movie's just, it's a little lethargic. It's like, okay, kind of speed this up. Um, there's really only like, what, one, two, three, was there like 3 or 4 hits in this? Mobster hits? So, I mean, Vito ends up, because he's crazy, he gets super pissed at Catherine Narducci's ex-husband because him and her are having dinner, but it's in the guy's favorite restaurant. Like, he goes there all the time. He's friends with the people that run it. And he gets super pissed at the guy because he goes there and he has a dinner and he just sits in the corner. You know, he's not trying to hit on his ex-wife in front of Vito. But he gets super pissed at that. He says it's a sign of disrespect and all this stuff. And he ends up killing the guy. And then he ends up killing some other guy because he just happened to walk in on them killing him at the guy's apartment. He's on the top roof, like, he has like birds that he's like raising. And yeah. So, and that brings more heat on Vito, and all of this angers Frank Costello, and then Frank Costello does something and it angers Vito, and then Vito does something and it angers Frank, and then Frank does something and it angers Vito. And that's kind of like the movie. But it's too long. It's yeah, so that's kind of that's my problem with the movie. I mean, the writer, you know, he wrote American Gangster. Oh, he's a producer on that. He wrote City Hall, Casino, Goodfellas. So, and you know, it is directed by Barry Levinson. You know, who's 83. Man, Nick Pileggi's 92. Wow. So it does kind of feel like a kind of written and directed by older people, but you know, it's not bad. But it's just kind of got this kind of, it's just too slow. The movie's too slow, but it is an interesting story, and you know, I did enjoy it. I don't know what I'd give it, like 6.5 out of 10, probably. It's no Goodfellas, it's no Casino. Now, The Irishman, I think, is more, at least Joe Pesci's in that, is more interesting, but the problem with The Irishman is there's this weird, you know, CGI de-aging of De Niro going on, and I don't know. Like, I've rewatched that movie, and I'm just like, that just takes me out of the movie. He looks so weird in that movie, De Niro, with the de-aging, and you can tell he's like an old man, but they de-age him like 40 years, and yeah, it just looks kind of weird. But it has a huge bomb, has a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, I'd give it a fresh. Yeah, I would, but if you do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It really helps the channel. This is the 5th collaboration between Barry Levinson and Robert De Niro after Sleepers, Wag the Dog, What Just Happened, and The Wizard of Lies. The movie was originally entitled Wise Guys, which is almost the title for Goodfellas, even though it was spelled differently. Marlon Brando had said he based his raspy voice on Don Vito Corleone, and The Godfather on Frank Costello's voice, as he heard from hearings aired on TV. De Niro, who also played a young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, goes full circle and portrays Frank Costello. However, in this film, they stayed away from Costello's raspy voice imitation. Real-life Vito Genovese and Frank Costello were portrayed in Barry Levinson's movie Bugsy, which is a good movie, in which Don Carrera played Vito and Carmine Caridi played Frank. Second time Robert De Niro has played a mafioso named Vito after his iconic role in Vito Corleone in The Godfather 2. reunites Robert De Niro and Catherine Narducci after A Bronx Tale and The Irishman. Second movie about the mob that director Barry Levinson made after Bugsy. So, but yeah, if you want to watch, kind of a slower paced mafia movie with a bunch of old Italian guys being very wise guy-ish, saying a bunch of wise guy stuff. Some of it's kind of funny too. Some of the lines are funny. There's some good food being eaten, some good Italian food in multiple parts in the movie. It made me, want to go grill up some Italian sausages and, eat some spaghetti, and have some garlic bread, So, it's alright. I didn't think it was amazing, but I think that's about it, though. I'll see you next time.